Hey guys, how are you doing? And welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to share with you which types of ads have actually worked for me best on Amazon KDP. And while I'm sure many people on KDP run ads a lot more effectively than I do have some long-standing decent campaigns that have worked very well for me and continue to do so. And I will be sharing those top 3 ads in the UK because that's where I currently spend the most on advertising. But it also happens to be very similar in the US too, and I will explain how a bit later on. So the highest performing ad for me in the UK is actually an auto campaign. So that's an automatic campaign, and that's been running since 2022. So the main auto campaign in the UK that I have running has generated around $13,000 or £10,000 worth of sales. And this is good news for people who are brand new to Amazon advertising because the auto campaign is the easiest campaign to set up. I have heard some people say to not run automatic campaigns to brand new books straight away and to set up a manual campaign first. And that is because Amazon doesn't have very much information about your book when it's first published. You have no sales history. So what Amazon does go off of is the information you have already given them, such as the info and data in your subtitle, title, and description. So while I think this is definitely valid, it hasn't actually stopped me running automatic campaigns right from the beginning, and I have had success with them right off the bat as well. But I think when it comes down to low content books, they can be very basic, and so perhaps this rule doesn't always apply to them in the same way it would if you were running a high content book. So it hasn't always worked for me either. Very recently I did try and run an auto campaign to a new book, and it struggled to get any impressions or any clicks, and I think this might be because the book wasn't in a clearly identifiable niche, and I'm not sure Amazon really knew what to make of it. So if you do have a good enough description, title, subtitle, and keywords, then hopefully Amazon shouldn't have too much of a problem when it comes to showing your book to the right audience. But just be aware that this might not always be the case, and therefore you may need to give a book a bit of time for Amazon to learn more about it and know who it's best to show your book to. Another thing about auto ads is they'll often cost less per click in comparison to manual campaigns. So this auto ad has a CPC of 11 pence, which is around 14 cents per click. And I've actually only spent around £2,000 on this ad over time, and it's been running for a couple of years, I think. However, I don't have that many ads running in general in comparison to a lot of other publishers, and most of my sales overall are not from advertising or any other outside promotion. So I don't do Pinterest, TikTok, Facebook marketing for my books personally, although I know that has worked well for some people. Let me know if any of those things have worked for you, by the way. We all have limited time, and I guess I've tended to use that more towards creating new books and still on Amazon advertising rather than social media. One of my longest ever running ads was created in 2022, and that is an exact match manual ad. So a manual ad is where you select your keywords, and if you're using exact match, that means that Amazon will only show your book to those exact keywords. There isn't any differentiation on them. You also get to set a bid for each keyword, so you may choose to have some higher than others depending on Amazon suggestion, but I generally don't do this. I tend to pick one bid across all keywords and then start there, and then I tweak it later on. This type of ad doesn't include broad or phrase match type, and because this ad was created so long ago, I cannot remember how I chose the keywords for it either. So a typical way of choosing keywords for this type of ad might be to choose winning keywords from an automatic campaign. But in this case, I'm pretty sure the keywords I chose were via Amazon, just using common sense, and possibly Publisher Rocket as well, and the keywords that publishers have used in their titles and subtitles for similar books. Initially, this campaign did have over 40 keywords, but over time the ad has been optimized and it still has 26 keywords live. Many videos I've seen suggest creating manual campaigns with either broad match only, exact match, and broad match, or exact and phrase match. And those are just some of the combinations I've personally seen suggested. And while I've tried phrase and broad, the difficulty I've found is that this leads to many other keyword combinations being targeted, and a bunch of these end up either being too competitive or not relevant. So because there are a lot more keywords to optimize, you also need a bigger budget. And as a beginner, at least with Exact Match, you can be extremely controlled because Amazon will only use the keywords you're suggesting and no variations at all. Recently, I have started experimenting with broad and phrase again because I no longer panic when I see a high ACOS with an ad at the start, and I understand that I need to spend time on it and gather data. Nevertheless, I have found working with Exact Match the most manageable for me. The major downside of this, of course, is that there are going to be small variations on the keywords that you choose, which could have been potentially very profitable. And the only way you would have found those out is by using something like broad or phrase match. So that's just something that you might want to bear in mind. I was actually surprised that this was number 3 because it's probably my favourite type of ad of all. Product targeting simply involves targeting other books or products in your own niche, and you'll often find your book then appearing in the sponsored section of their sales page. And I love to run some of these ads to my own books in the same niche as well, and also just other books in my niche. I have also attempted to follow other products in my niche that aren't books. While I haven't had that much success with that in the long term, I have had my books bundled with other books in a niche or other products in a niche, like a gift bundle. I often do wonder if running product targeting ads have really helped with that, because essentially you're showing Amazon that your book is relevant to these other products, your book is relevant to these other books in your niche as well. And then if people do end up buying them together, which frequently happens, Amazon might decide that they're going to bundle your book up with some other products that seem to be relevant. So for that reason, I do enjoy using product targeting ads. In the US, my top 3 was only very slightly different, with Exact Match being the number 1 performing ad for me and an auto campaign in second place. Again, third place was product targeting. So the great thing is that not only can auto campaigns be incredibly effective, they also are really easy to set up, and you can do so at low cost too. So these are definitely ideal ads for beginners, and as someone who creates low content books, they can definitely work well for those as well. So at the end of this video, I will quickly run through how to set up an auto campaign for anyone who hasn't done so before. Something that can be great and also frustrating about Amazon ads is that there is no one-size-fits-all method. In a way, it's frustrating because an ad type that works amazingly well for one book might not work well at all for another book. But on the other hand, it can be a good thing because it means there isn't one right way and one wrong way of doing things. You can really experiment and find out what works for you and what you're most comfortable with. The only way you can figure out what you're comfortable with is by trying different types of ads, experimenting with things like your budget, your bids, your keywords, and tracking what you find. So if you started with Amazon ads, let me know in the comments which type of ads work best for you. And if you haven't started yet with Amazon ads, what is it that's holding you back? Okay, so let's quickly set up that auto ad campaign. So if you haven't set up an ad before, you can go to your KDP dashboard, go to your bookshelf, and just go to the right here where it's got this little 3 dots, and you can go to promote and advertise. Another way you could do it is just by simply Googling Amazon ads. I tend to just bookmark the main pages so I can go there directly without having to go through KDP. In any case, you can click promote and advertise, and then it will ask you which marketplace you'd like to advertise on. Just remember, you do need to have an account set up on the Amazon marketplace that you are running ads in. So when you go to select a campaign, the one that you want to be going for is the sponsor products. Then you simply need to add your ad group name. Then you want to get the ASIN of your book and just plug that in here. And then you want to go to automatic targeting. So with an automatic campaign, you don't have to select, individual bids for keywords, because obviously Amazon are choosing the keywords for you or the products for you. So you need to just put in a default bid. With an automatic campaign, I will tend to put a much lower bid. I might put 20p, or I might put a little bit less than that, but now I would tend to at least put about 20 pence. This is what the suggested bid is. So you might also consider changing your bid depending on what this is. This is really high. So this is down to the actual book that I've put into this auto campaign, even though I'm not actually going to be setting one up for this. So yeah, so in this case, you might decide to go a little bit higher. I definitely wouldn't go as high as this for an automatic campaign, but I might decide to go higher depending on what this is. Alternatively, I could start low anyway, and then I could always increase it as time goes on. What you can do is you can add negative keywords. So these are keywords that you definitely don't want Amazon to be targeting. For example, if your book is specifically targeting girls, you might want to put in some boy related keywords here. But what you can do is just optimize your auto campaign later on. So you can go into the back end once the ad's been running for a while and see what search terms Amazon is using, and then you can create negative keywords from that back end, and that's how you gradually optimize the automatic campaign. And just to let you know, I didn't even know how to optimize a automatic campaign. I didn't even know that you could optimize an automatic campaign when I started. So I definitely went for, well, probably at least a year or 2 years without knowing that I could do that. But it's definitely something that's worthwhile knowing. I do have one video on my channel about optimizing auto campaigns if you want to check it out. And you can also add negative products as well. Then you go down to bidding strategy. So I either do dynamic bids down only, but more frequently I will do fixed bids. So that just means that Amazon will be using your exact bid. They're not going to adjust your bid depending on various things, such as how likely a click is going to lead to a sale. In this case, then Amazon will actually reduce your bid when they think that a click might be less likely to convert to a sale. It's up to you really whether how much you trust Amazon's judgment about this, I would guess. So again, you just want to put a campaign name there. I often have a portfolio so that I can see how different ads are performing. And then you just want to put your daily budget. Now it's actually suggested that I put £25 here. So I would probably put £10, but you might want to put £5 depending on what your budget is. It's not going to spend that much anyway. You can certainly put a lower amount and then see how you go. But that's it. Then you just launch that campaign and you're done. So if you haven't got started with advertising on KDP, then I do recommend it, and an auto campaign is one of the simplest ones you can start with, so why not just start there? But that's all for today, so I hope you found this video useful, and thank you very much for watching. I will speak to you again very soon.